Shall we move on to AC Milan now, Rory?
Bloody hell.
That expression kind of sums up that kind of performance, to be fair.
They're really depressing at the minute.
Their fans make me laugh. They don't just genuinely, like, if there's a moment to, like, laugh at some base of fans, it's their fans at the moment.
Possibile. Non è possibile, l'ennesima serata in cui le abbiamo viste tutte. Non è possibile! No! Di nuovo!
Because they are, like, really pissed off with Pioli, the kind of structure at the club, obviously the chairman as well. They've been kind of changing their tune about their transfer business in the summer, and now making out as if like they hadn't addressed the key elements yet. I don't recall, Rory, any Milan fans being dissatisfied in the summer after all of their signings either, right?
No, but I do also think I might have been quite complimentary about their business, so I'm going to be careful about what I say. I have been disappointed with how some of the players have gone. I think Reinders had a really bright start, but has definitely faded. Okafor, I expected a lot more for. Chukwueze, we've seen him and he's scored in this game. Fantastic. But that's about the only thing he's done since he's arrived. I think a lot of like Loftus-Cheek, as Loftus-Cheek always is, he's fantastic when he's on the pitch, but he can't always make it onto the pitch, which is something that they would have known or should have known before they signed him. So I feel like some of the deals could have gone, and maybe this is an obvious thing to say, but they could have gone one or two ways, but all of them have gone the same way and not particularly well. But I think the reason for that is because what makes signings go well is good coaching, managers bringing them into the team and bringing them into a system, melding them properly. Pioli definitely isn't doing this. Now, he's meant to be like, his strength is tactics, right? He's a tactician. He's like, you know, that's
the brains.
He's not a man manager. He's not like, he is a tactician. And I feel like he is failing to find tactics that now fit these players, that he can actually get the most out of these players. And I think what we're seeing is a man run out of ideas and rapidly run out of time. But I think the thing is, he's going to be there till the end of the season. There's no way they sack him before the end of the season because they're basically out of Europe now. If they were going to sack him, they would have sacked him by now. I think he's there until the end of the season, so they don't have to pay as much when they sod him off because like they're not a particularly rich club, right? The Italian football isn't awash with money.
They're not. No.
And I think this is the only reason he's still in this job because the football we're seeing from Milan is just depressing. It's just depressing. There's nothing you can say about it that's really positive. Did you see any positives there?
No. I was going to say, I think you can kind of sum it up by there was a scene where I think it was around the 90th minute mark and Tomori's running with the ball and he's actually getting his arm with the other one whilst he's got the ball in his like feet and trying to encourage all of the Milan players to get to the other end. It's like, what are they doing? Like sitting back, it's 3-1, like try and get a goal. I mean, it just... You could see by the demeanor of the players, like at that stage, they knew they'd lost. They knew that was it. They couldn't turn it around. And I was going to say to you, as much as you can kind of say Pioli's run out of ideas, I also feel like on the pitch, they are struggling to manage the games. Like, for example, in the league, we've seen it numerous times already where they've taken a lead, for example, against Napoli. They've done it against Lecce, where they've taken 2-goal leads and they've then let those teams back into the match, right? And whilst this was a different scenario in terms of the game and the way it panned out, there was times where Milan weren't necessarily bad, but they were outbeaten to the ball. They just didn't read it properly. And I feel like, obviously, they are missing the likes of Benacer in the middle of the park. It's quite clear to see that, right?
He's back in the squad this weekend, which is huge news.
Huge. But even up top, when last weekend, Rory, they had to bring on Ramada, or Kamada even, sorry,
Kamada,
the 15-year-old. And you're kind of thinking, this is quite kind of desperate because Jovic, he had one chance in the match. It wasn't particularly well taken by him. He was unlucky on this occasion against Dortmund. He had an effort that hit the crossbar as well. But he's not inspirational to kind of take over that fold of Giroud. Giroud looks like he's like completely drained of any energy right now. He's after
The
that
guy's
penalty miss as
37.
well.
He's 37 years old. Like, you can't. You have to
can't
at some
rely
point
on
be
him.
like, okay, you're an option off the bench, Giroud. And he was only ever meant to be an option off the bench.
Of
He
course.
wasn't supposed to be their starting striker. He can't have meant to have been their starting striker.
What they done is they saw Zlatan and thought, he's the same. He can
Yeah,
do it basically
yeah.
the same, right?
And as Zlatan would say, there's only one Zlatan, right? No one else is like Zlatan.
Yeah, exactly.
No one else is like Zlatan. Yeah, utterly depressing for Milan. I think this season now is just all about them getting in the top four again. They just have to make sure they get in the top four.
That's all they've got to do now.
It's not guaranteed even slightly because it's super tight up there. But that is their only focus now. And I think the board have just got to hope that Pioli manages to pull that job off and then go, right, okay, thank you, but off you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, with the recruitment, it's a bit mad because when Maldini was sacked, they were all super angry, understandably. But I thought they did. I thought their recruitment had been decent this summer. I'm surprised at how badly it's gone. Honestly, I am surprised at how badly it's gone.
One question I will face:
yeah.
do you think they should have gone for defenders? Because this is the thing that's I seemingly see a lot of Milan fans saying is this defensive aspect. Now, I think prior you might have maybe had arguments about Calabria, maybe that kind of Florenzi on that right hand side. Maybe that's not strong enough, right? But other than that, I wouldn't have necessarily said they were in bad state. I mean, there's probably the element of they haven't got many backups if one of them drops out.
I think that's
Kalulu's another one that is obviously injured, and I think he fits or fills the void sometimes. But yeah, I think it's kind of come out that Malik Thiaw walks out on crutches after that match against Dortmund, so he's potentially off. And they're talking about a young-ish kid. I think he may be Serbian descent. He's a 19-year-old that's going to be potentially called up for this weekend's game. But yeah, it's not looking too great. So.
Like you do have to say, like, that is an injury crisis. That is an injury crisis, but also. If you're looking at Simon Kjaer as one of your strongest centre-backs, again, great player, great career, but alongside Giroud, he shouldn't be starting every minute. Maybe you should have invested in other centre-back. But I also think hindsight's 2020, like. But
of course it is.
So I think if you looked at that defence, you weren't particularly worried. Thiaw on his day is very, very good. Kalulu on his day, which is less often than Thiaw's day, but Kalulu is good every so often. So I think you look at it and you go, okay, no, there's enough strength there. Tomori is like an ever-present. But yeah, I think maybe in hindsight they should have invested a bit there. The issue for me as well is Maignan, who has been absolutely fantastic for them. That's the first mistake I've seen him make. I think, if maybe the second.
Yeah, I think he's coming out with a few more recently. Obviously, this game highlighted it.
Another one's
more.
Like in the back of my head somewhere, but I can't quite. Yeah,
it did look like Maignan was with you at the wedding. The way he performed.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I was I was falling down a bit quicker than him. I'll tell you that.
But yeah, it's a shame because I know he was suffering with a fever on Saturday. So whether it's the after effects of that, but yeah, he should be doing really potentially better with that second goal in particular, where he kind of palms it.
Really bad.